Hello everybody and welcome to this playthrough for Rookie Division with various type of wins for the Sakura Hills 9-hole cup here in Golf Clash the game. Video sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic. And before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Click at the bottom in the bottom right corner. Also, you can go to golfclashtommy.com to find hole guides and other free content for the Sakura Hills, also for whatever tour you're playing in the game. Last but not least, if you do want to get personalized text guides or the ultimate tournament guides or just website access, training session, we have it all on patreon.com/golfclashtommy, link directly in the description down below. Can we get this video to 300 thumbs up? That would be insane and I would be very thankful for that. Follow the info box on the right hand side for the elevation adjustment, also the club distance adjustment, combined with what ball and club type I do feel is going to be the best ones to use. Have in mind that you don't need to use the suggestions that I'm giving out here, but there is always a plan with it. Make sure you ask questions if you have. The best way to get in contact with us is through the website form, or like the contact form on the website on golfclashtommy.com, or send directly an email to support@golfclashtommy.com. Enough talking from me, and let's focus on the holes here in this playthrough. So let's go to hole number 1. So let's take a look at the drive, and here, as I do have headwind, I do decide to play with a power 1 ball. If I would be having crosswind or tailwind, I would not play with a power 1 ball. I would go back and play with a marlin, because here we are not really focused in having the distance as much, because now we're looking to have as much curl possible. It's not often that I do recommend to use a lot of curl, but as this hole kind of goes like can we call it like the shape of a banana or a boomerang or something like that. So we do want to use as much topspin possible, as much side spin to the right possible, and use as much curl to the right possible, and bounce over the bunker and trying to get the ball as close to the pin possible. Now from this range we're gonna play in very close to maximum distance with a short iron, and here I'm playing with my thorn, as I do know that then I have at least 3 bars of backspin, because that's going to be required. I would recommend you to bounce on the green directly if you could. If you bounce on the fairway before, you could get into a problem with getting an inconsistent first bounce, and that is not something that we do like to have. We play maximum distance plus 10 for the second shot, and now unfortunately a great ball, a perfect would have been super duper close, getting an eagle. This is a par 4 that is very short. Make sure that you do play it in a way that you feel comfortable with, but especially lay up in a perfect way so you do have a good chance for the eagle. I do believe that a lot of your opponents will be either close or dropping this one. No elevation for the second shot for the drive makes the drive easy. Second shot, we need to add those 10% as we're playing downhill and the ball is affected a bit more. Hole number 2 is going to be a par 3, and now we're going to bounce on the fairway before the green. And we're going to use, with the backbone, blue. So blue ring by the bunker, blue ring by the fringe, but obviously the landing position will be different if you're using a different long iron. Here I'm using 3.2 bars of backspin. Adjustment is going to be maximum distance plus 20. So even if we aren't in maximum distance, we're still going to use maximum distance as club distance when adjusting for this shot. So max plus 20, I'm using a marlin here, and once again this is a par 3 that it's not really requiring much. It requires backspin, but that is depending on the club, not the ball. So in that case we can definitely stay away from using higher level balls, and we can play with the lower level balls that we can afford to spend. Obviously, if you want to go one step up, you can go with the navigator to reduce the wind, because that's the only attribute that I do feel would be value to focus on if you're gonna spend a bit better ball. This is a good chance for an hole-in-one in my opinion, and I do think the par 3s, besides hole number 7, is going to get you some good chances for a drop. So let's take a look at the drive, and here I will suggest you to play with a power 3 ball. Not so much because we are an absolute must to have it, but it's going to help us tremendously, because when we do have a headwind here, we can do two ways. Either we do lay up very short on the fairway to be as close to the rough possible, or we try to do a double bounce over the rough and the sand, as I'm attempting to do here. So if trying to do a double bounce over using playing in headwind, we do need to have a power 3 ball to minimize the amount of overpower that we do need to have. Go with overpower based on how much I adjust into overpower with a click of curl to the right. And you can see here that the ball bounces on the fairway, over the rough and the sand to land on the other fairway on the other side. Have in mind that you don't have to play a shot like that, but to maximize the opportunity for an albatross with a tough wind for the drive, then that's the shot that I would recommend. But otherwise you lay up as close to the rough possible on the first fairway, but then you're playing purely for an eagle on this par 5. Second shot from this area is going to be with a long iron. Now, again, I do have a lower level backbone level 7. Obviously, more power with the long iron would help this shot tremendously. So a Goliath here, if you do have it in at least level 4, would in somewhat be recommended. Otherwise, you can also play with a wood club here, but then you need to go with a wood club with more backspin than that our sniper is having. So now I'm trying to do something, you know, in between here, using a little topspin on a long iron, which is not something that I do use that often. And we come in very nicely towards the pin, but there is a little mound that the pin stands on, so we do need to have enough speed for the ball to roll up there. But that mound also makes this shot very difficult in general to get some consistency at. If you do lay up on the first fairway, just to mention that, then you need to play with a wood club with a lot of power. The big dog is the preferred option there, and then the power 3 ball will definitely be the ball that you should be playing with, because then you will have to play a long shot, most likely using a little overpower in headwind and trying to just land it on green for the second shot. Elevation, no matter what shot you're playing here, you're playing max plus 10 for the drive. So maximum distance, 10% over adjustment. Second shot, you play maximum distance with a 5% over adjustment. Still a slight over adjustment there, and that is something that is very important to have in mind. This is a tough par 5. Don't expect an albatross, but if you do make over with the drive like we did here in the video, the albatross attempt opens up in a much better way than having to lay up short. So let's take a look at hole number 4, and now we're gonna bounce before the rough and the sand. And we're looking to get the second bounce into the more dark green square row. So you can see that the ball guideline is just in the dark green square row, but more or less the second bounce is just in between the dark and the bright green square row, because the ball is going to come right and then fall left. Adjustment is going to be max plus 10, and here I'm not using any spin whatsoever, and that's the recommendation in tailwind, to not use any top or any backspin. If we do have a crosswind, we're going to have to use half a bar of topspin, and if we do have a headwind, I would recommend to go with 1 bar of topspin to just compensate for the compressed ball guideline in that regard. Unfortunately, a great right, but you can see here how forgiving this hole is, that the ball will still end up very close towards the pin. Play with a Marlin or with a Quasar. Play with a ball that you can spend, because here we don't really need many attributes on our ball, so we should be able to focus on keeping the better balls and save them, and then play with the ones that we can afford to spend. So we're gonna take a look at this par 4 here, which is a tricky one, especially if you're not taking the special little rough bump that we are going to attempt here. First and foremost, the drive is very simple. So we're gonna go straight forward using as much topspin possible with a cap of playing with maximum 7 bars of topspin. If you do have more than 7 bars of topspin on your driver for some reason, could be that you play with a big topper or something like that, then you're not going to use max, you use maximum 7. Now I'm using a little overpower to make sure that I do get the distance that I need to when it comes to playing in headwind. If I would be having tailwind, I would not use any type of overpower in crosswind. If I do have an extra mile level 5, I would use a little bit of overpower there as well. But in the end though, we're just gonna get it down, and we're looking for a yardage around 330 to 340 yards. Maximum distance plus 10. Second shot is gonna be a rough bump. And this rough bump here looks very scary, but there is one thing with this rough bump that I want you to have in mind that makes it fairly easy to hit. First and foremost, I'm looking to go with the bottom part of the rough that brings more consistency. Using one topspin adjustment should be in this case medium distance minus 20. And then we're going to try to hit perfect. You can see that we're gonna come in a bit short in line here. You see we hit the rough and we roll up and we go short in line. We do need to have 1.5 to 2 bars of topspin for this shot to be able to do this one well. But the good part with this shot is that we play so much uphill here that the ball is going to be so less affected by the wind that you will have no problem hitting that rough. And obviously playing with a sniper that has 100% not percent, but 100 in accuracy, it's going to help you tremendously, because we're going to hit great left or great right sometimes, and then with a great we're not going to have any problems clipping the rough and roll out, at least. But if you do feel uncomfortable with that, you can use curl and curl it around on the left hand side, but then you're basically forfeiting the eagle chance completely, and then you only play for a birdie. So that's a big reason why I do enjoy this hole, because we can play aggressive and go for an eagle, but there is a safe route as well to get the birdie and not taking any risk. But there is big value playing the rough bump as shown on this video. So we're gonna start with the drive, and here we're gonna use maximum 6 bars of topspin. If you only have 4.5 bars like I'm having here, we're gonna use the 4.5 bars. We're gonna bounce over the rough and the sand on the right hand side using maximum distance plus 10 in our adjustment. So I'm using as much topspin that I can on this club, but I want to use maximum 6 bars of topspin as I don't want to roll too far. Because if we roll too far, we're not going to risk the rough and the sand, but we risk you see the tree in front there, we risk having the trees in our face, which means that we cannot play over it. And that's going to then make us clip the trees and go into the bunker or sand or water. We will not reach for the green in 2, is what I'm trying to make as a point. So looking to get the ball down there, and then we're going to either do one or 2 ways. I'm gonna go for the rough bump because I feel that I want to go aggressive here, as bouncing over the water is going to first and foremost put the water in play. Second of all, it's going to be very difficult to get the correct speed towards the pin, as the pin stands fairly short on this green. Now I'm using half a bar of backspin, 1 bar of left spin, which is way too little backspin for this shot. You do want to have at least 2 to 2.5 bar backspin on this shot, but the thing that fools me is playing with the big dog, which does not have the best ball guideline to use. So if you do have a sniper level 7 plus, you should always play with the sniper, but otherwise you're gonna have to think about playing with the big dog, as the big dog does have the distance at least, so you can reach for that rough bump. But sniper once again will be superior big time for this hole. And in the end though, you see I'm suggesting a katana and a titan. It's not wrong to play with a titan to make sure that you're gonna have the distance, even though you might play with a little lower level sniper, or you know, for that reason a lower level big dog, and you're not feeling confident with getting the distance for the drive. If you feel confident getting the distance with the drive and you play with 6 bars of topspin, a power 2 ball is going to be the one that you can play with without getting into any type of issues. You know, the more safer way to play if you don't like the rough bump is to bounce over the water and just take the eagle. But once again, on the Sakura Hills, we do have a hole where it will bring a ton of value to go aggressive, and therefore we're gonna suggest the rough bump for hole number 6. So now we're gonna take a look at hole number 7, and when we do play with a backbone here or a Saturn or any other club that does not have the 135 yards of power, then we're gonna have to play on the left hand side. We're gonna use the bank and the fairway there to bounce towards the pin, and I'm using 1 bar of side spin to the right, trying to aim on the top left corner of this fairway. Half a bar of backspin is also what I'm using, but you're gonna notice that that's going to be too much. Using in this case half a ball of curl to the right after adjusting maximum distance plus 10. So bouncing nicely on the fairway, you can see we get such a high bounce that we're not really gonna have the speed to go towards the pin. So here we do need to have a little bit less backspin. We also need to go with a little bit more curl, or we're gonna go and use more side spin. That's also one way to go, and I do think that's going to be the best way to go if we're gonna play on the left hand side, to use the quasar or the katana, if possible, to use more side spin. There is a rough bump as well, which also plays max plus 10, but then that rough bump is only going to be with a Goliath, as it does have the 135 yards of power, and that's going to be the most important one. And to just demonstrate that, you can see when I stretch out there, that's the rough that is in between the sniper and the backbone, just above the bunker. That's the rough that we, if so, we're going to try to hit, because that rough is a very good spot trying to bounce and get the ball to roll towards the pin, which has been rewarding myself and many other players with a lot of hole-in-ones. So let's take a look at the drive, which is going to be a fairly easy one. Here I want to use the quarterback if possible, but in the end we need to have in mind that the quarterback could be losing or lacking a lot of distance if we are having it in a lower level. Sure, quarterback level 9, level 10 won't be having any issues even if we play with a powered 0 ball. But here I choose to play with a quasar ball, giving myself power 1, using 3 top spin and 2 bars of right spin, going with a click of curl to the right, and then adjustment is maximum distance plus 10. We're looking to get the ball down there on the fairway. I'm not really focusing getting as close to the rough possible, because again, we're not playing a linear hole here, and we not need the distance. We're gonna play straight forward and then to the right it's gonna be, and then in the end we're gonna have a shot where we're gonna use a lot of backspin, or we're gonna go for a rough bump if we feel aggressive. Now we're kind of in between clubs, so I'm leaving myself with an option to either go with a backspin shot on that uphill fairway, which is not something that I do recommend, or that you can go for the rough bump like I'm doing here. It does feel that there is a kind of a funnel from the spot that I'm aiming for there, and that is definitely something that we do enjoy. But we do play for a very thin strip of rough there, and that is something that we do need to have in mind. Do we want to play an aggressive way for the rough bump, or do we want to play just for the safe birdie? Another way for you to play here, if you do have the distance for it, is either to go for the dunk with a short iron, or that you're going with a long iron towards the pin. Unfortunately, I do adjust only medium distance for this shot and needed to play maximum distance to utilize the thorn's capacity here on hole number 8. So I really enjoy this hole. This one you can play just straight forward and then to the right. Everyone will have an opportunity, but the pin stands very short, so you do need a lot of backspin, especially if you go for the dunk, or if you go for just a bounce up shot with backspin. But also, you know, as an outsider, the rough bump is a very interesting line. So let's take a look at the drive. This is a super long par 5 though, and we're gonna try to go just as far as possible here with our drive. But you may be wondering, why don't I go with a power 3 ball at least? It's because I already know that with the driver that I do have, using 4.5 bar topspin, I will not be able to reach for the green in 2 no matter what. Then I do believe there is value in saving the power 3 balls to other occasions when we cannot really benefit from them anyway. But if you do have a driver that has at least 6 bars of topspin, now again, at least 6 bars topspin, and maybe possibly playing with the big topper, In tour play, I do get that we are not going to play with the big topper many of the times, but in tournament we have the chance to choose the club before we play the hole. Then the big topper could be definitely brilliant on this par 5 to try to gain as much distance possible, because one of two ways: if you can reach over to the left over the rough there to the fairway, then we should go that way, trying to bounce our ball towards the green. If we cannot reach to that, we're not gonna just try to go full blast and just gamble. Then we're just gonna lay up on the right side, trying to then go for a rough bump or just a backspin shot towards the pin for the third shot. Playing with a max plus 10 for the drive, the second shot is also going to be a max shot, but without elevation, as we're not playing downhill and we are not playing uphill at all. Now we're not gonna take a look at the drive, we're gonna take a look at the third shot. And the third shot is, I'm gonna play with the backbone, and I'm gonna play this one in medium distance. And now I'm gonna go for this rough bump here by the green. And this rough bump is very good, and there is going to be possible to get a lot of nice eagles from this range. But have in mind that this is an alternative way from not being able to reach for the green in 2. But once again, reaching the green in 2, you do need to play with a big topper and minimum power 3 ball, or you do have to play with a driver that is superior compared to the ones that I do have equipped here on my account. But once again, you know, the layup option on the right will be pretty sufficient for many players. And in the end, we play with half a bar backspin. We could have gone with like 0.8 backspin so we don't come in too hot. But right at pin for a nice little eagle on this par 5. And yes, an eagle here on this par 5 is going to be the score that the general mass is looking for. We're not looking for an albatross here, we're looking in some way to lock in the eagle, which is going to help tremendously when we do play in tour play or in tournament play, because your opponents will miss this one many of the times. So medium distance second shot plus 10% if we play on the right hand side. Thank you so much everybody for watching this playthrough for Rookie Division with various type of win for the Sakura Hills 9-hole Cup. Make sure that you email us support@golfclashtommy.com or use the contact form on the website golfclashtommy.com if you do have any type of questions. Don't forget to hit thumbs up as well. If you can get this video to 300 thumbs up, that would be absolutely amazing, and thank you for that. Video sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic. Thank you once again for watching, and good luck in your Golf Clash game.